What's up, everyone? Welcome to episode 18 of the Ohio Sports Radio Show. It's Jared and Ian back again, ready to talk some Ohio sports with you guys. Hopefully you guys had a great Super Bowl weekend. I know I did. E, how was your Super Bowl weekend, sir?
Can't complain. Big game, great game. I thought it was a great end to a fantastic season.
Absolutely. It was fun, man. It was a great game. We'll get into that here in a little bit. Freezing cold day here in Ohio, but we have some hot takes ready to warm this up. So first off, our best and worst of this past weekend. That's traditionally how we start the show for those of you who may be new to Ohio Sports Radio. E, what was your best and worst of this past weekend, sir?
My best of this past week, and when it comes to college basketball, I'm a Duke Blue Devils fan. Duke's fell on some hard times lately, losing 4 of their last 5 before this past week, and all of those losses being in the ACC. They came back this week with a vengeance, defeating Georgia Tech, NC State, and number 13 Louisville. All ACC wins, so Duke getting back on the right track. Definitely big moving forward for that program and trying to get back into the top 25. My worst of the week, I've got 2. First is kind of a joke. I was a little eager tweeting out Monday morning about spring training coming up, and I misquoted the start of spring training for pitchers and catchers for the Cleveland Indians. They caught it. They put us on blast on Twitter, so it was pretty funny. I put 11 days till pitchers and catchers report. They replied with 9, so that was kind of eye-opening on Monday morning. On a more serious note, news came out today that the Reds are mourning the loss of beloved clubhouse manager Bernie Stowe, who passed away today at the age of 80. Stowe came into baseball in 1947 at the age of 12 years old. He was the best, just ascended through the ranks and stayed with the team up until he retired in 2013. You always see him down on the field and stuff during the ceremonies and everything when they bring people back into town for celebration. So heart and our thoughts and prayers out to the Reds organization and the family of Bernie Stowe. Phenomenal career. Really, he was beloved in the city, and it just sucks seeing a guy like that pass away. So thoughts and prayers to Cincinnati, to the Stowe family, and let's get out there this year and win some games for Bernie.
Yeah, absolutely. Just awful loss for the Reds family. So thoughts and prayers to him, like Ian said. My best and worst of this weekend, my best was the Denver Broncos defense in general. They were phenomenal in the Super Bowl. 7 sacks on Cam Newton. And, you know, I said on our show I took the Panthers, and every one of us did actually, except for you, Ian. So kudos to you. But every one of us took the Panthers. I said that, you know, I was rooting for the Broncos. I wanted Peyton to get his last ring, or get a ring and ride off into the sunset. But just a phenomenal game by Von Miller. My gosh, he was a freak out there. DeMarcus Ware getting his first ring. Just awesome game. The Broncos defense in general was phenomenal in that game. The worst thing of this past weekend for me was Peyton Manning plugging his just cheesy ads. It was awful. I mean, I get he has to do that, but the first person Peyton saw on the field was Papa John before his wife. He kissed Papa John on the field, which is absurd and it's just so strange and weird. Then Peyton plugging Budweiser, which is so weird. And I heard that as long as you're a player in the NFL, MLB, whatever it is, you can't plug a alcoholic ad while you're an active player. So that could be a sign that Peyton may be hanging it up. I don't know. But just awful, just so cheesy from Peyton. But, yeah, that was my best and worst of the weekend. So, Ian, thank you, sir. Let's talk a little bit about the Super Bowl. The Super Bowl 50. Pretty good. I thought it was a good game. I thought it was better than I thought it would be. E, what'd you think?
I thought it was very competitive. Like you mentioned, I was the only one that took the Broncos. I'm not going to gloat or anything like that, but you know, at the end of the day, I'll take experience over flash any day of the week. Just twice on Sunday. Those Broncos guys, a lot of those guys were there in the Super Bowl 2 years ago. Still kind of fresh for them, I think. Cam's going to have the opportunity to win more. I mean, he's got at least 12 years left in the league.
Well, you You say that, but Dan Marino, everybody thought he'd have the opportunity to win more. He was only 23 when he was in his first Super Bowl, and that team was loaded, just like the Panthers, and Dan never got back. So it's kind of hard, that could be Cam's only time there. And speaking of Cam Newton, I mean, what do you think of his post-game press conferences, storming off? I know that's been the hot button and all the news right now is, Cam, how he's acted. People calling him a sore loser. What'd you think of that?
I think it's tough to talk to the media after a loss. I can't imagine, especially a loss like the Super Bowl. I know there's a lot of news outlets saying that it was because of Chris Harris's interview going on behind him and everything that he was listening to, and that's why he got up and stormed off. I think he just didn't want to talk. I mean, it's kind of goes back to Marshawn Lynch. He showed up because he had to be there. Do you really want to talk after a Super Bowl loss? I don't think you want to talk.
I'm gonna play a little devil's advocate here, just for the sake of the show. I actually like Cam Newton. I like what he's done all year. He's gotten a lot of flack, and I don't know if it is because he's an African American quarterback and people are looking at that, or if he's too flashy for the purist of the game of the sport. There's a lot of old fans that don't like the celebrating and stuff. And I know when Chad Johnson was in the league, a lot of fans didn't like him celebrating after every touchdown. As a Bengals fan, I thought it was great. I think Cam Newton's celebration was great. I think him handing those balls and stuff to kids was great. But to play devil's advocate, if you're going to stand up in front of the media after every game and tell people, hey, if you don't want me to dance, keep me out of the end zone. If you're going to be that guy who's always got a smile on his face, there's dabbing in every picture, he's doing all this stuff, you got to take your lumps like a man whenever someone hands it to you. And the Broncos did that. They got all over Cam Newton. They were all over him. He had no time to throw the ball. I was shocked that Ron Rivera didn't call more option plays for Cam to try to get something going, to try to get him outside the pocket running, beating them with his legs. Wade Phillips called a perfect game, absolutely perfect game. But to play devil's advocate, like I said, if you're going to sit there and say all that stuff all year long, you have to be able to take your lumps like a man. I've played sports, now nothing to the magnitude of a Super Bowl, obviously, but when you lose, you don't want to talk to anybody. You need time to reflect. So to get these guys out here after a game, I understand it is tough, and you're gonna need time. I know Tom Brady after a loss, he makes the media wait 45 minutes on him so he can reflect and kind of calm himself and clear his mind. But unfortunately for Cam, that's part of the game. You don't see many quarterbacks like Russell Wilson, for instance, when he lost in the Super Bowl last year. Russell Wilson he threw the interception to lose the game for him. And he answered questions afterwards like a man. So I think, Cam, if you're going to sit there and tell everyone, if you wanted me to stop dancing and smiling, keep me out of the end zone. Well, the Broncos did that. I think you got to stand up there like a man and answer the questions. That's part of your job. I mean, I don't know what you think about that, E.
I totally agree 100%. I think that comes with maturity, though. I think Cam might not be there yet. Now, I can't say an age thing because, obviously Russell, I think, is younger than him. But, Russell, we talked about his character on the show before. He does everything right. He does everything by the book. I like you talked about the play calling. I think the Broncos caught them like a deer in headlights. I've never seen Rivera that outcoached at all this season, even in their loss. I think it was to Atlanta or New Orleans when they got beat. He didn't get outcoached that bad. And I think a lot of the Panthers, they looked like they were caught in the headlights. They didn't expect that. And like you mentioned, Wade Phillips, phenomenal. And I'm glad to see him get a ring and some credit for this because, he had the number one defense all season. But back to Cam, I think it comes with maturity. He didn't expect to get knocked on the chin like he did. And I'm sure it was tough, and we'll never know that feeling of losing a Super Bowl. But you got to, like you said, if you're going to stand up there all week and all season and say, if you don't like this, stop it, and then you finally get stopped, you better have something planned to talk about.
Yeah, it was weird. People called him a sore loser. I don't think there's such thing as a sore loser. If you're a competitive person and an athlete, you don't want to lose anything. I mean, especially a Super Bowl, it's terrible. So it's easy for us to sit and people in the media to sit, behind their keyboards and stuff and to call out Cam. But at the end of the day, it's the biggest game that those athletes play in the NFL. That's the biggest game they play for. He'll never know if he's going to be back there, and he had his opportunity, and it didn't go well. So it's a tough game. Tough to take, but you got to take your lumps like a man. Sit there and answer the questions. It's part of your job. Couple other things from the Super Bowl. The commercials. Now, I'll be honest with you. First of all, what was your Super Bowl setup like?
I'm gonna come at you with something that's really lame. I'm a student, still in college, trying to get that degree. So I had a lot of homework set up. I was trying to work on some papers while watching the Super Bowl. I think I ended up inserting a few stats into my papers, so I'm waiting to get those grades back. But, I paid attention to the Super Bowl, but it was a lame setup. Didn't do any partying, didn't hang out with any friends. It was my laptop, my homework, and the big game on the big TV. So, it is what it is.
Yeah, man, that's the exact opposite of what I did. I went to a friend's house. We all got together. It was a bunch of us, and literally ate every awful thing I could put into my body. We had pizzas, wings, chips and salsa, veggie trays, fruit trays, you name it. Had a lot of beers. It was fun. I'm going to be honest, I don't really remember many of the commercials that played. I know that's what a lot of people are watching for, and I don't remember. I remember the monkey dog baby or whatever it was. That was a weird one. That was insane. I don't even know what that was advertising, but that was insane. Did you have a favorite commercial that kind of stuck out to you?
I had a couple. One, I thought the Super Bowl Babies commercial with Seal was pretty good. Anytime you can put Seal back in the spotlight and have him sing one of his hit songs, I think that's pretty comical.
One of his hits or his hit song?
True.
Does he have multiple hits? All I know is the one. Does he have multiple?
He had the Gotham City song from the Batman soundtrack, and he had Fly Like an Eagle.
Yeah, but he redid that. That's Steve Miller Band. So I think he redid that one.
Yeah, true.
But yeah, I vaguely remember the Super Bowl Babies one. Was the premise of it, these are the babies who their teams, their parents, they were conceived on the night that their parents' teams won the Super Bowl?
Birth rates spike 9 months later in the Super Bowl championship city every year. Yeah, it was that one.
For those of you who may be wondering, I am not a Super Bowl baby, so go ahead, E.
I am not either. The other one that stuck out in my mind was the Prius commercial, where the guys go to rob the bank and their car gets towed away, and they end up stealing somebody's Prius, solely for the reason that Jared, you and I are both huge Office fans, and there's an episode of The Office called The Duel where Dwight and Andy are battling to win Angela's love, and in the fight, Andy pulls up in his Prius to run over Dwight, and as people are watching from the second level of The Office, they're like, how does Dwight not hear that? Well, the Prius is silent when it's under 10 miles an hour, and at the end of that commercial, they're coming up on the cops who have set up a roadblock in the middle of the night, and they're all sleeping, and they drive right past them without them hearing because they're not accelerated. So I thought that was pretty comical.
Yeah, that was a good one. I remember that one. That was a pretty good one. I don't honestly remember. I don't know if it was the beers or if I just wasn't paying attention, but I really don't remember many of the commercials. So I'm not much help in the commercial department. I do remember the Super Bowl Babies one. That was I guess pretty funny. The Prius one, I do vaguely remember that, and that was pretty funny as well. But I thought the Super Bowl was great. The halftime show. Now, what do you think of the halftime show? For those of you who may have missed it, may have been in a cave or under a rock, started out with Coldplay. Then it started out with, then came Beyonce, and then Bruno Mars. I think it was all over the place. Now, I'll be honest, I was a couple beers. By a couple, I mean a lot of beers deep by this point. I remember the stage was like a rainbow or something like that. It was all over the place. What did you think, as a sober mind who was watching it like a loser at home? what did you think of the halftime show?
Thanks for pointing that out. The
I'm
best
sorry.
part of the halftime show, in my opinion, was the screen that was the stage, where it went back and it showed previous performances at halftime. That's pretty sad when you ask what the best part of halftime is, and that was it. I'm not a big Coldplay fan, so I wasn't impressed by them. I'd be fine if I never see Bruno Mars again, and I'm really not a big fan of Beyonce. And, there's a lot of controversy over her performance. I didn't buy much into it. I don't care what happened. I'm not a fan of her as a performer. So it's not like I'm not going to go out and not buy her CD because of that. I'm just not going to buy her CD because I'm not a fan. So they really need to up it. I mean, they've had some great performances in the past. The Rolling Stones, Paul McCartney, Prince even.
Prince was great. Prince was fantastic when he did his show. Yeah, Michael Jackson. I mean, I do remember them showing that now that you said that, where they showed all those old Bruce Springsteen, I think, was one of them that they showed, which is great. I agree. I'm not a Coldplay fan. I like some of their early stuff. That's like the most hipstery thing I can say right now. But I did like some of their earlier stuff. Don't really know much about Bruno Mars except for he sings that one song, Uptown Funk, that everybody loved. He's really short, by the way. Bruno Mars is insanely short. Gosh, Beyonce, I thought it would maybe been cool if they played a little Destiny's Child. That's all I really know from her. But yeah, I don't really. I thought the Super Bowl halftime show was stupid. I thought it was weird when they announced it. I mean, Coldplay. I know they got a new album probably coming out and a tour, but for me, it seemed like, and I'm not really a big pop fan. If people who know me, they know I don't really care for it, but I thought the natural progression was like Taylor Swift or somebody. She seems pretty huge right now. I know her tour was pretty big. I mean, I know they had Katy Perry last year, maybe too similar, but I mean, who'd you think? Who would you have rather seen? I mean, besides like the legends like Rolling Stones and Paul McCartney and things like that. I mean, who would you have rather seen?
I don't know. I know this is going really far off the grid because one of the things I've read also about Coldplay is, Coldplay really that big into American football, when they're from over in Europe, soccer reigns supreme over there. I don't know. I know this is off the grid, but I'd like to see like a Mumford & Sons performance at halftime. But, if I'm not going Legends.
Okay, I'm going to go Legends, and I think Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers, just get them up there, let them play 5 hits, and just go to town. I think it would have been fantastic. Maybe Tom Petty to another rock band, like somebody from California. There's tons of great rock bands from California that they could have picked, but I don't know. The NFL is a gigantic conglomerate, huge business. They're going to get huge artists that are going to like Beyonce announced a tour and an album right the day after. So obviously it's people with albums and stuff coming out. I don't know. It just seemed like a terrible decision for the halftime show for me. It's real cheesy. I don't know. But the game overall was great. I'm ultimately happy for Peyton and those guys. Hopefully Peyton retires, rides off into the sunset. I hate to see him play one more year and it'd be a terrible year, him get hurt or something, and kind of, why didn't you? They're sitting there saying, why didn't you leave when you were at the top of the mountain instead of trying to come back and risk it? But Super Bowl 50 was great. For those of you who may not have seen it, Super Bowl 51, ESPN's Crystal Ball is reporting. They reported it last year too, so it's really invalid. But I got to hang my hat on something. We're going to transition into my Bengals, and Super Bowl 51, ESPN's early Crystal Ball is predicting my Bengals to beat your Cardinals in Super Bowl 51. They even had a picture of Andy Dalton holding the Lombardi Trophy, and it was I'm not going to lie, it was great. The thought of that kind of made my heart beat. It was going to my chest. I think I had to pull my car to the side of the road, and I was sweating. My palms were wet, and it was nice. I couldn't imagine. I'll tell you, if the Bengals were in the Broncos position with 2 minutes left, up 14, I would be going nuts. I don't know how I would do it. I would probably have to have a bag to hyperventilate. I'd be hyperventilating. I have to have a bag to calm me down. But yeah, not much news going on with my Bengals. Unfortunately, we do have some Bengals questions though, so let's go ahead and get to those now. First question about the Bengals from Derek Bolin. He wants to know. Derek's got a few Bengals questions actually. He wants to know. Do we think the Bengals will spend money to keep Marvin Jones or Mohamed Sanu? And what is the answer to the agents secondary? We have 4 free agents: Hall, Pac-Man, Nelson, and George Aloka. He also wants to know, do we use the first-round pick on a wide receiver / punt returner, a defensive back, or what do you think? And he wants to know what we expect from Jeremy Hill's 3rd year. Okay, I'm going to go through these in order, Derek. Free agency with Marvin Jones and Mohamed Sanu. I wrote about it. I think they lose. Well, I think they lose one or the other, possibly both. I could see Sanu jump into a team like the Browns. I could see Marvin Jones going to a team like Seattle or somebody like that. I think he's going to ask for more money than we want to give him. At first, I was in the camp of we should keep Jones, but now I'm thinking if he wants to jump ship, we could probably get a wide receiver. Now, free agency is solely how we draft is solely depending on free agency, obviously. I'm going to think we keep Sanu and lose Jones. That's my initial assessment right now. That's where I stand on that. As for our aging secondary, George Aloka is pretty young, so hopefully we can re-sign him. I said I hope they re-sign Reggie Nelson, but if they don't, they're obviously got to take a safety in the draft, and there's some pretty good safeties in the draft. I hope they re-sign Pac-Man. I've said that over and over. I don't think they're going to re-sign Leon Hall. He's going to want a lot of money for how old he is, and he's pretty injury-prone, so I hope they re-sign Pac-Man. I hope they re-sign Aloka because he's young. He hits really hard. And I hope they re-sign Reggie Nelson just so he can continue to teach George Aloka the position. And first-round picks, I think they should take Tyronn Lue, outside linebacker out of Ohio State. The reason I think that, Derek, is because this is a copycat league. As you saw, Von Miller absolutely dominated the Panthers, the number 1 offense. He got to Cam all night. So defense wins championships. I think the Bengals linebackers are good, but they need a good outside pass rush because Michael Johnson didn't really do much this past year. Geno Atkins can do great stuff in the middle, but Geno can't do it all by himself. Carlos Dunlap was fantastic, but they need to collapse the pocket on quarterback. So if they can get an outside pass rusher like a Tyronn Lue who can also drop back into pass coverage, it would be great. That's who I would take with my first-round pick. I could also see them taking a wide receiver, the kid from Baylor, Coleman, I think is his name. I could see them taking a wide receiver because they are going to need that position. I would not take a DB in the first round. As for Jeremy Hill, hopefully he can learn from his mistakes and hold on to the football. I don't see him going anywhere. I think Gio will be the main back, but I don't really see much going on with Hill. I don't think he'll be a top 5 back like you think, Derek, but I do believe that he will have a decent year. But that's it. There's really not much going on with my Bengals league, except ESPN thinks we're going to win the Super Bowl. So hopefully that comes true. Derek, sir, thank you for the questions. Appreciate it. Whereas there's not much going on with my Bengals, loads of stuff still going on with your Browns, and it's not good stuff. Johnny Manziel in the news again. It seems like this guy he can't get out of the news, man. 2 days ago, a report came out where Johnny Manziel apparently assaulted his girlfriend. He hit her so hard that he punctured an eardrum of hers. And today, a new report came out said reportedly Johnny showed up drunk to practice. The Browns covered it up, saying he was in concussion protocol. Now, Johnny has denied this. His dad says that he thinks Johnny's suicidal. That he doesn't believe he's going to live to see his next birthday. I know Von Miller did reach out, a former Aggie himself, did reach out to Johnny and kind of, told him, like, hey, I'm here for you, man, if you need anything. So hopefully that kind of settles him down. Hate to see him go down this path, man. It's pretty terrible. As a Browns fan, what do you think about Manziel and all these accusations?
Well, I think he's proved with his past that all of these things are valid. I don't think any of these are alleged. I think we're going to find out that everything that happened with his girlfriend did happen. His girlfriend's been toxic with him since day one. She's gotten him into trouble. He's made bad choices with her. But at the end of the day, you still don't put your hands on a woman. We saw that with the whole Greg Hardy thing and the Cowboys last season. We've talked about Johnny. It's like beating a dead horse. You segued into the Browns by saying there's a lot of news about the Browns. There's a lot of news on Johnny, nothing about the Browns, and that's the problem. It's for him. It's about the name on the back of the jersey instead of the front. And they're releasing him. Once the league calendar rolls over in March, and everybody wonders who will pick him up. I don't know. We've joked about Dallas because Dallas has been one of those places for troubled players. But whoever picks him up, that becomes their number one problem now. Any team that takes a chance on him, that's their number one problem.
Yeah, like I said last week on last week's show, I just don't see the Cowboys picking him up. I know Jerry Jones kind of is infatuated with him, but RG3's out there, and I just think you don't hear anything about RG3. I think he's a better quarterback than Manziel is. He's bigger. He's just as quick when he's healthy. He's had time to recover. He has to have fresh legs. I would pick up RG3. I don't think Johnny finds a team this year. I would rather take Tebow than Manziel at this point. The only reason teams don't take Tebow, by the way, is because of the media circus with him. If the media wasn't going nuts, ESPN wasn't beating the Tebow story into the ground every week, he'd be on a team, in my opinion. I think he's not a good NFL quarterback, but he's a decent backup. You can't say he's not a good third stringer. But anyways, I wouldn't touch Manziel. It's terrible right now. I know the Browns are probably waking up every day, and the first thing they do is putting a red X on the calendar, counting down to March 9th when they can release them.
No, I definitely agree. And, I said it with the last article I wrote about Johnny. I said, he needs to improve himself as a person before he can improve on the football field. And the biggest thing right now for Johnny Manziel is to take care of his problems. Don't worry about where you're playing at next season. Don't worry about where your next paycheck's coming from. Live your life and live it the right way. I'm not judging anybody for going out and drinking or having a good time, but you can't be doing this because, like his dad said, his dad's worried that he won't see his next birthday. Johnny's heading down a long, dark, lonely road with the way he's going. And there's only one person that can stop that, and it's Johnny Manziel himself.
Did you see Ryan Leaf came out and said everything Johnny Manziel is doing, it's the same signs and same things he did when he was in the league. Ryan Leaf was a huge quarterback coming out of college. People were wondering if the Colts were going to take him over Peyton, and obviously they ended up taking Peyton, and the rest is history. But Ryan Leaf was a big drug addict. I mean, he was really addicted to painkillers. He was an alcoholic, and he said that he doesn't remember hardly anything from that time because he was just so out of it. And his whole thing was, instead of being a good quarterback, it was, when can I get my next fix? He said he reached out to Johnny to say, hey, I'm here for you. I have a program now that I help recovering addicts and celebrities and athletes and people who are in the limelight all the time. And I'm sure that doesn't help Johnny either. He's got cameras and reporters and stuff in his face every single day, judging his every move he makes. Now, I've never been in that situation. I don't know what it's like. So it's hard for us, again, to sit and point the fingers at him. We see the negative, and you don't know the inner demons he's fighting, but he needs help. If I'm an NFL team, the first thing I do is like, look, we're going to help you out, but you're not going to touch the field. You're not going to play, okay? We need you to stay kind of like a Josh Hamilton scenario. When the Reds had Josh Hamilton, they had someone with him at all times. Like, look, you're too good. You're too good, man. Josh Hamilton's a phenomenal player, and Johnny Manziel's a phenomenal talent. He's a phenomenal athlete. And like I said a long time ago, he's going to be that guy that he may be that guy that everybody is saying, remember Johnny Manziel? Whatever happened to that guy? He was a great player. And the only thing he's going to have is a Heisman vote. That's it. He's not going to have anything to show for it because of this dark road he's going down. So hopefully a team can take him under his wing and, do the whole Josh Hamilton treatment with him. It's tough, we sit here and criticize him, but none of us have ever been in that position,
No, you're exactly right. We'll never know what he goes through, and there's the old adage that says, never judge a man until you walk in his shoes, but he's got to get help, and he's got to be part of that help. He's got to be okay with getting the help. You can't force someone to get help. We saw what happened the last time he went to rehab. I think a lot of that was forced onto him by the Browns, even though everybody says that he voluntarily checked himself in. I think a lot of that was the Browns. And, you talked about it a few weeks ago with Josh Gordon. You got to it's not about money. It's not about money at all. You got to take away the game and hope that changes. And I think it's an excellent point what you made. If I'm a team that's going to take a chance on Johnny, I say, look, we're going to bring you in, but we're getting you help. Don't even think football yet, because football's the furthest thing away from our minds too.
Yeah, and I want to clarify, what I was saying about Johnny was just his addiction problems. The stories of him assaulting his girlfriend, that's addiction, messed up, whatever he was or not, is completely uncalled for. I can't believe charges were dropped on that again. The NFL, I don't know what they're doing. These players who keep getting these assault accusations and charges and things keep getting dropped. It's ridiculous. Things have to get better in the NFL, and they are. The NFL's Players Association is taking actions to where if a player in college has a gun charge or an assault charge or domestic violence charge, they're not allowed to get to show up to the combine. That's a pretty huge step for the NFL. So not cool, Johnny Manziel, but hopefully you do get help. Pretty terrible news. So hopefully things can get better with him, and hopefully a team takes him under their wing and takes the game away from him and gets him help, because it seems like he's on a very, very dark, lonely road right now. But staying in Cleveland, or Believeland as you guys like to call it, the Cleveland Cavs. Now, we've not really talked about the Cavs that much. Now that the NFL's over, we will talk more basketball with you guys. So let's rewind a little bit with the Cavs. A couple of weeks ago, they fired their head coach, David Blatt, who was 83-40 as the Cavs head coach. When they fired Blatt, the Cavs had the best record in the Eastern Conference. They were 30-11 when they fired him. Since then, they have hired their assistant coach, former player Tyronn Lue. Lue currently is 7-3 as the head coach as the Cleveland Cavaliers. David Blatt, who was scheduled to coach the Eastern Conference in the All-Star game, obviously is no longer going to coach them. Tyronn Lue will now be the one coaching them. By the way, the Cavs signed him to a 3-year, $9.5 million deal. The whole story was LeBron had no clue that David Blatt was being fired, which no one in their right mind believes that. The Cavs have been winning, but they're in the Eastern Conference. The Eastern Conference is an absolute joke. It's the Cavs and nobody else. So the Cavs don't care about it. It doesn't matter until they can make it to the finals. Do they have enough to beat Golden State or San Antonio even in a 7-game series? Golden State went to Cleveland and absolutely throttled them. I know you're a huge Cavs guy. What's your take on your other team at by the lake up there?
Well, when Blatt got fired, GM David Griffin said he was a lack of fit for our personnel and our vision moving forward. I think that's a crock. Going into let's back up to last season before LeBron comes back home. There was all this talk that once Cleveland got that first pick in the draft, they were going to start maneuvering. They're going to try and win LeBron back from Miami, and then that pick was up to LeBron, whatever he wanted to do with it. Well, then they started talking about bringing in Kevin Love. And before all this happened, before LeBron came back to Cleveland, they go out and they hire David Blatt as head coach.
Yeah, now he was never LeBron's guy from the start.
No, I mean that's where I'm going with this.
Yeah,
if you know very good and well, you're bringing back LeBron James back home to Cleveland, and you want to avoid him ever leaving again, I'm sorry, but you let LeBron make the calls.
Absolutely.
Okay, Combe, LeBron, who do you want as head coach? Now, I'm not saying he gets a free pass on everything, but it's going to work so much better with that transition as long as LeBron's at least talked to about the hire. They bring in a guy that has no NBA experience, that coached over in the EuroLeague. I mean, he had success in the EuroLeague, but they bring in a guy who's got no NBA experience, and then they have LeBron to him. They get the number 1 pick. They take Wiggins. They send him off to Minnesota for Kevin Love, and they get destroyed in the finals by Golden State. Now this season, they're the best team in the East, leaps and bounds. They'll make it back to the championship if nothing changes, but they're not good enough to beat the Warriors. Now you start to see everything unfold the last few games, and there was talks about this last season, and if you really paid close attention, you picked it up a little bit. Tyronn Lue calling plays from behind the bench, Tyronn Lue, changing plays and timeouts and huddles. And, David Blatt basically letting him walk all over him. And LeBron has a better relationship with Lue than he ever did with Blatt. And don't get me wrong, Tyronn Lue, he was an okay player. He was kind of a journeyman in the NBA, but he's sat behind some really good coaches. He spent a lot of time in Boston behind Doc Rivers, learned a lot about coaching. And then I think he's just started overstepping his bounds. I think this was in place at the beginning of the season. They just never did it. Moving forward, I still think they're the team to beat in the East. I don't think anybody can do it. You brought that up. I mean, the East is super soft. But, if you put Cleveland in the West, they might be a 5 or 6 seed.
Absolutely. I was going to say that too. And real quick, before you get to your end point, we do have a question, and it's going to tie into this. Stephen Benz wants to know, what do you guys think of the Cavs firing Blatt? Obviously, they had the best record in the East, but yet the GM cites lack of fit. He personally thinks it was a stupid move. So I'll let you get to your end point here. So what do you think about the Cavs letting Blatt go?
I think it was going to be inevitable. I think it was one of those things, you can compare him to other coaches. I think he was in a no-win situation, especially after they got beat by Golden State last year in the championship. When you don't make adjustments to your team, and that's not Blatt's job. He doesn't have control of, who they trade or who they re-sign. Come back in to an NBA season completely the same, except aged role players off the bench. You're not improving. You can't just stand pat and just say, well, hopefully the injury bug hits Golden State. Golden State they're the best in the league, and they're the best in the league for a reason, because they do everything right. They've got the best shooters on their team. They play the best basketball as a team. I mean, at any given night, they can beat anybody. And, I think Blatt was in a no-win situation. I don't really know if I agree or disagree with the firing. I probably would have done it sooner rather than later if they were going to let him go. But Tyronn Lue's not going to win you an NBA championship. You got to switch up that team if you want to beat another team, because the Warriors didn't get worse.
Yeah, and here's the thing with the Warriors that makes them so good. They're such a problem, one, because they have 2 of the best shooters in the history of the league. Draymond Green is playing out of his mind, and the Warriors can afford to put Draymond at the center position. So that forces other teams to go small, and when you have to go small, you can't play with them. They run up and down the field. They all are up and down the field, up and down the court. They all shoot too well. That's where the Cavs are going to struggle. So going back to, I know there's been a lot of talk about them possibly trading Mozgov, possibly trading Kevin Love, which that's not going to happen. They made that trade for Kevin Love. I know Andrew Wiggins would fit perfectly into that offense right now. However, Love's a fantastic player. Blatt was using Love terribly, and he's been playing well under Tyronn Lue. So the whole thing that I hated about the firing, I don't care that they fired David Blatt. I don't care. He's pointless. LeBron runs that team. Everyone knows that. It's happened. There's every generation of basketball. You can look at any coach, any player. Magic Johnson ran the Lakers. Larry Bird ran the Celtics. Jordan did not run the Bulls. Phil ran the Bulls. But Jordan was the assistant coach pretty much. You can look at any generation and the players. If they're a star, standout star, they run that team. LeBron is a generational player. He runs the Cavs. It doesn't matter if you want LeBron to stay in Cleveland, and LeBron tells you the sky is green. You say, "How green is it, LeBron?" You do what he wants you to do to keep him happy in Cleveland. He wanted Kevin Love. You go out and get Kevin Love. They've done a great job of it. David Blatt is pointless to that team. I think it's stupid because I don't think he deserved to lose his job technically, but whatever makes LeBron happy, you kind of got to do. And that's selfish. I know he's a diva or whatever, but he's the best player in the world outside of Steph Curry. So I do whatever makes LeBron happy personally. And that's weird. That's weird to say, but personally, I have no problem with the firing. Tyronn Lue is a player's coach. LeBron is friends with him. So Tyronn Lue's not going to step on LeBron's toes. That's the whole thing. That's the whole point of this, to make LeBron happy. The only thing that bothered me was the Cavs organization saying LeBron had no clue. We did not ask LeBron about this at all. And that is unreal absurd. For them to think, that's like a slap in our face for us to think, oh, you guys are stupid enough to believe that. No one on earth is stupid enough to believe that they did not consult LeBron James before they fired the head coach. LeBron was told before anyone. LeBron was probably in the room with them when they first brought it up. So I do not buy that one bit. LeBron knew instantly. He was the first person that knew, and if he wasn't, that's insane.
Did you hear what he said when he said that he got the phone call about coming in for a players meeting?
No, what he said?
He said, "Honest to God, I thought they were going to tell us that they traded Kevin Love." I don't buy that. Nobody buys that, dude. You were the one that probably sent out the text message that said, "Hey, players meeting."
Yeah, and it's funny when they show all these pictures of the Cavs and stuff, Kevin Love's never in those pictures, which is always hilarious. It's like team pictures after the game. It's like J.R. Smith, who's a nutcase, Kyrie, and then you got Tristan Thompson and LeBron, and then Kevin Love is never in them, which is hilarious to me. Like, I don't know if he doesn't fit in there, but Kevin Love's a great player. The Cavs are just using him wrong. Kevin Love's used to being the star, and he's not. He's not the star. Kyrie's not the star, and Kyrie is one of the top 5 point guards in the league. So and Kyrie's getting better every game too, which is insane. It's LeBron's team, so whatever he wants goes. And I don't think they'll trade Kevin Love, but if they do trade Kevin Love, what that team's missing is an outside shooter. They need a wing shooter so bad because J.R. Smith is – you never know with him. J.R. Smith probably wakes up at 6 o'clock each day after going out all night and drinking. He's a nutcase. J.R. Smith is so insane. Some nights he can hit 4 threes in a row, and some nights he may not make a shot until the fourth quarter. So he's insane. They need a more consistent wing shooter if they want to be successful. LeBron can take over any game, but LeBron's game is getting everyone else involved. He's like a Magic Johnson type player. So I don't think Kevin Love moves. I mean, do you think they move anybody?
If they move anybody, it'll be Mozgov, in my opinion. They might try and cut some salary with Verjao. I don't know. I don't think they'll move Love. And the reason I think they move Mozgov is I think they think that if they trade Mozgov, which you're not going to get a star out of Mozgov. Don't get me wrong. Mozgov's done a lot for this team. He has played well. You're not going to get something in return that's going to put you over the top against the Warriors.
Yeah. I don't think anybody's beating the Warriors. The Western Conference is loaded. I think the only team that has a chance, obviously the Spurs, just because of Popovich. And Popovich will see. I don't think the Spurs have better players. I think they have a better coach, though. And I think Popovich can outcoach Steve Kerr. So I think maybe the Spurs have a chance to beat Golden State, but I doubt it in a 7-game series because it'll obviously be in Oakland. So I don't know. And then, man, I don't know. Maybe Oklahoma City because they're deep. They're deep at almost every position. You got Russell Westbrook and Kevin Durant. But I don't know. The West is so good. The West is unbelievably good. The East is a freaking joke. It's an absolute joke. And the Cavs aren't going to be tested until they get to the finals.
No, you're exactly right. Looking at the West, I think San Antonio is the only team. I mean, you hate to count out Oklahoma City. And like you mentioned, a very good point, they might be one of the deepest teams in the NBA.
They're too deep.
Besides the Warriors.
They're too deep at every position. The Oklahoma City is too deep at every position.
But for the Thunder to knock them out in a 7-game series that will be 4 games at Golden State, you're going to have Durant and Westbrook combined for 80 every game. And you can't expect that 7 games in a row. I totally agree with you. I think Popovich is a better coach than Kerr. But can those guys put together a 4-game string where they could knock off the Warriors? It's hard to see anybody beating the Warriors in a 7-game series when they're playing them. When they're playing one team for a set amount of games.
And that's the thing. That's the thing with the NBA. That's what makes it so great is, the best team always wins a 7-game series. Always. Yep. So the Cavs are good enough to make it to the finals. The regular season is a joke for the Cavs. It's an absolute joke. The East is so bad. It's so terrible. They'll run to the finals, but can they beat the team that makes it out of the West? I don't think they're good enough to beat the Spurs in a 7-game series. I don't think they're good enough to beat Oklahoma City. They could probably take Oklahoma City to 7 games. Westbrook is a freak. He can go off for 40 every night if he wants. Durant can go off every night. They're deep at every position. I think they can give Oklahoma City a lot of trouble. I think Oklahoma City can give Golden State a lot of trouble. But Golden State's coming out of the West. They're coming out. It's going to be Golden State, Cleveland, rematch. And can Cleveland go to Golden State and win 2 games or win a game? Nope. They haven't lost at home. They haven't lost at home this year. So I don't know, man. And the thing with Golden State is Steph Curry can have an off night and Klay Thompson will go off for 40. You know? They're so good. Draymond Green, triple-double machine right now. They're so good. It's so good. And by the way, has a coach ever went from being a nobody to a perennial top-tier coach faster than Luke Walton? Luke Walton is going to get a huge job next year. That guy, he went from being a nothing to he's number 1 on every team's list next year.
Let me ask you: Does Phil Jackson make a run for him with the Knicks job with Fisher getting fired?
You know, I was going to say that. I absolutely think. But the thing with Phil is, if you want to coach the Knicks, you have to love the triangle offense. He will not go away from it. He is so inept with the triangle offense. He will never go away from it. So that was Derek Fisher's whole thing. He wasn't really sold on the triangle offense with that team, and that's why. I mean, obviously they lost 9 of their last 10. But, the Derek Fisher thing never clicked. I never understand the NBA, by the way, how a player can go from playing to automatically coaching. That never made sense to me. Like the NFL, that never happens. In the NFL, if you are a player, you start off as like a defensive back coach or something. You know, you start at the bottom and work your way up. And they will never put a player who quits. The only one – Peyton Manning may go to an offensive coordinator position. Maybe. And even still, he may go to quarterback coach or something, you know. You never see a player quit. Like Derek Fisher was with Oklahoma City, retired, and then took the Knicks job immediately. Jason Kidd's the only one. Jason Kidd quit, took the Nets job. You know, he was all right there. The Nets were terrible, and then moved to Milwaukee. He's done all right with Milwaukee. I think he's done a pretty good job with them.
He's got a good young team there.
Yeah, but I think Luke Walton is going to get a huge job, and I could see him land with Phil. You know, he's a Lakers guy. Luke Walton was there, and he's got a lot of ties to Phil. So I don't know, man. I don't know, but I think he's going to get a huge job. But Cavs, Yeah, I love talking NBA, so that was fun. We'll get more Cavs talk for you guys. But let's talk a little baseball. Not much news going on right now with the Reds, but there was one big piece of news. They hired former head coach Lou Piniella, Sweet Lou, as their senior advisor to baseball operations. They hired him to this position last Friday. Piniella, who is 72 years old, was the coach of the Reds from 1990 to 1992. Obviously, he won the World Series with the 1990 Reds. That was his only World Series, by the way. Glad to see Sweet Lou back in the Cincinnati organization. E, what about you?
Yeah, I think Piniella has always been a great baseball mind, whether it be in the dugout as a manager or the couple seasons there where he was a baseball commentator for I think Fox Baseball. I'm not positive on that, so don't quote me. But Piniella is a great baseball mind. Baseball is one of those sports where they bring back. It seems like they recycle all these guys back through the system to take higher up jobs, and I really like the move because he's a no nonsense guy. You know that from watching him manage all the ejections, all the arguing. He's gonna try and do his best to turn this club around in the rebuild mode that they're in. He's gonna give him some good advice. He's gonna oversee a few things, and I think it's a great hire for the Reds. I really do.
Yeah, I mean, I know he was only with the Reds for 2 seasons, but he's a legend in Reds lore. I mean, you win a World Series as a manager, you're a legend. The Reds fan base is forever thankful for that. So I was ecstatic when I heard that they're bringing him back for a position. I hope I want to see him throw bases. I want to see him get in arms faces. I know he won't because he's 72 years old, but that would be awesome. We did have a question about that. Jake Parrish wants to know, should Bryan Price feel some pressure heading into the season with Lou Piniella possibly, he says possibly, waiting in the wings? E, what do you think?
At first, I kind of laughed at this question. No offense, Jake, but then I really looked at it and I started thinking from both sides of it. Lou Piniella is never going to manage in baseball again. He's past that. He's 72 years old. With his temperament, I think if he went back to managing, he'd have a heart attack in the dugout or in the field as he's throwing second base into center field. Now, when I said I went back and looked at that question and reanalyzed it, I think Bryan Price may be on a bit of a hot seat because Lou Piniella knows what it takes to win ball games. He knows what it takes from a manager standpoint, and I think with his advisor role, he could possibly be offering advice like, look, we got to get somebody in there that'll do this, this, and this so we can get to this, so we can produce a product that is suitable for this city, suitable for this franchise, and get us back in the winning ways. We've talked, it's not an overnight job for any position player, for any coaching vacancy or member of the coaching staff. This is a full-on rebuild. But I think he should feel a little bit of pressure because you got a manager or former manager in a role that's going to be giving advice. So if Bryan Price isn't doing things right out on the field, Lou Piniella is going to spot it, and he's going to be talking to the right people.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. That so you took the words right out of my mouth. I think bringing him in as an advisor—that's the key word. He knows what it takes to win World Series. He knows what it takes to judge talents and to judge talent and lead a team. So I think Bryan Price has been on the hot seat in Cincinnati. I think it's so hot that he probably can't stand it right now. But thanks, Jake, for the question, man. I completely agree with Ian. So thank you for the question. We appreciate it. Pretty awesome time right now. We got Reds baseball pitchers and catchers about to report. We got baseball right around the corner. March Madness, NHL playoffs, NBA playoffs. It's great time right now. For those of you who don't watch our show, we typically finish it with our bold prediction, so we will give you that right now. Ian, what is your bold prediction for this upcoming weekend of sports?
My bold prediction is today Kanye West came out and kind of knocked on Michael Jordan and said that his shoes were more popular than Jordan's in sales. I love MJ. I think he's going to come back with a pretty witty response against Kanye. I don't like Kanye. I don't like anything about Kanye. I wish I loved myself as much as Kanye loves Kanye, but I'm really excited to see what MJ comes out to say within the next couple days about Kanye's remarks.
I just hope MJ just shows his 6 rings and like a picture of his screenshot of his bank account or something. MJ's shoes are fantastic. Michael Jordan, if by some small minuscule chance you are on YouTube and you see this video, please God, release your old shoes in 1 through 12, release the 1 through the 12s in a size 16. That's what I wear, and you don't make it. I can never buy Jordans. If I buy them, they sit in a box in a closet because I can't wear them. Please, Michael, please, somebody, anyone who knows us, get this in touch with Michael Jordan and have him get in touch with me. I need a pair of size 16s. Thank you, Michael. But yeah, my bold prediction for this upcoming week is Michael Jordan. No, I'm just kidding. My bold prediction for this upcoming week of sports, tomorrow, actually, the Columbus Crew and the MLS will release their new jerseys for the upcoming season. Now, there is a little bit of controversy right now. The Crew, it's kind of been leaked that the Columbus Crew will not have a gold jersey. Now, for those of you who don't know, the Crew have had a gold jersey since 1999, so this will be the first time without it. The MLS is doing a thing this year where the one of the jerseys is of the city's flag. Well, Columbus's flag is all kinds of different colors, and they were kind of showing like mock-ups of it, and it looks really weird. My bold prediction is they will actually have a gold kit. They will not. The city flag will actually be an alternate. I hope they don't get rid of the yellow or the gold. Their jerseys were fantastic last year. In my opinion, they had the best in the MLS. The Crew are making a lot of good moves, so hopefully they make a good move, and keep the gold kit. That is my bold prediction. That's it. That's our show. Episode 18 of the Ohio Sports Radio Show in the books. Ian, that was another great show. Thank you, sir, for joining me today. Thank you guys for tuning in. If you like this video, give us a thumbs up on YouTube. We would really appreciate that. Check out our website, ohsportsradio.com. We have a new writer that he couldn't join us tonight, Seth Everhart, by the way. Check out Seth's first blog, The Blueprint to Success for the Cleveland Browns in the Draft. Seth, welcome aboard, brother. Hope you see this. You better see this, but hopefully you guys check out Seth's blog. It was fantastic. I really loved it. E, how's it feel to have another Browns writer?
It's nice. I don't know what to do with myself. I'm used to all this Bengals chatter, and it's nice to read something else that's about the Browns and it doesn't have my name on it. So it was pretty nice reading Seth's blog, and I thought he knocked it out of the park. A lot of good insight on players the Browns should be looking for in the draft.
Yeah, so Seth, thank you, sir. As a Bengals fan, your blog was great. So welcome aboard. Welcome to the team. We have a strong team. We're continuously growing. So if you're interested in writing for Ohio Sports Radio or writing about your favorite team, please get in touch with us. We're always looking for new writers. We have a lot of teams that are still uncovered, and we would like to have them, we'd like to have you on the show. We'd like to have those teams covered and be able to reach those audiences. So if you are interested, reach out to me and Ian or email us at ohiosportsradio@gmail.com. Check out our website, ohsportsradio.com. We're continuously updating it with new stuff. Check us out. Follow us on Twitter at Ohio Sports Radio. Interact with us on Facebook. Our Facebook page is just search for Ohio Sports Radio. Guys, you're the best. We couldn't do this without you. Ian couldn't do this without you and all of our other writers. Thanks to Chris, Jeremy, Seth, and Zach. Ian, obviously, thanks to you. You guys are the best. E, do you have anything to add to this?
Nope. Let's sit tight and go into another great week of sports.
Absolutely. Kind of a slow week. I don't know what to do without football. Now the NFL's gone. Kind of stinks. But already looking forward to free agency and the draft. Hopefully my Bengals can do stuff. But again, check out our website, ohsportsradio.com. Follow us on Twitter at Ohio Sports Radio. Like us on Facebook. Like us on YouTube if you like this video. Share our stuff. Contact us. Interact with us. You guys are the best. We couldn't do this without you. And we will see you next week, episode 19 of the Ohio Sports Radio Show. Creeping up on 20 episodes, Ian, as always, Who Day, Ian.
We bark together.
That's right. Thank you, guys. We'll see you next week.